Hello YouTubers. Well, I left you last time, I think, when I was telling you about Dad and myself going out to shoot rabbits to supplement the food rationing that was so stringent during the war. Perhaps before I go on to tell you about the experiences with the other ways we had of catching rabbits, I should tell you that anybody who had a garden was used to be encouraged to dig it up and plant their own vegetables, and I told you about how lots of people bred their own chickens and things, and some people even pigs, I believe, but of course that couldn't happen in the cities, but in those places that had gardens it was quite possible. And maybe people up, say, in Scotland could shoot deer to get meat, and horse meat was available sometimes and things like that, but our main concern was catching rabbits, and the alternative to shooting them was to net them. And the the modus operandi of that was that you went into the field or the place where the rabbits were, and the rabbits would have their burrows at the edge of the fields or in a bank. You placed your net across their burrows, and then you had a man who went to the other end of the field and he disturbed them, and as they ran to their homes they got caught in the net, from where you extracted them and sent them to their death with a karate chop. You held them by their back legs, so their head down obviously, and a karate chop across the neck, and they were dispatched quite rapidly. Anyway, as this young boy, of course I was quite thrilled to do this, and it seemed that it had to be a moonlight night, so it was quite a bit scary really, because as usual noise, you couldn't make a noise, so you were creeping about, a bit like sort of creeping across to the enemy in a field or something like that. But so you crept about very quietly, and it got quite scary because Dad had fixed the net on a tree or something at one end, and I was detailed to hold the net at the other end. And in a moonlit night with no noise whatsoever, and Dad having disappeared, it was quite scary, but also of course it was quite exciting, and you know, when Dad's there there's no fear, and so that is how we caught the rabbits. When we took them home, it was my job, well, not the same night, but next day it was my job to gut them and skin them, and I believe I could do that even now. I won't describe how you do it, but you basically sort of pull the skin off until you get to the ears, and then you chop the ears off, and you pull it off till you get to the nose, and you chop the nose off, and you've got a rabbit skin. And they are dried, or were dried, and I was also allowed to sell them. There was people who came round, we called them rag and bone men, and they came round collecting these skins, which of course could be made into all sorts of stitched together and made into all sorts of things, I don't know, gloves and hats and I dare say coats. But we got a very small amount for them, but of course that was very nice, and my pocket money sort of grew, and well, guess what I did with it? What young people might do today. I went down into town and I got one of those big black round things made of vinyl, which of course was you know, a 78 rev per minute record, and that of course is how I got into the blues, because I suppose I chose first of all the current popular things with names like Geraldo and what have you. Then I got into some American things with Benny Goodman and Artie Shaw and all that stuff, and then one day I came across one by King Oliver, who well, just played jazz really, and I was hooked from there on. But I'm going to stop this now, because if it works I'm going to slip in a picture of this boy that I've been talking about, and I'll come back to you in a few minutes, so put the kettle on and I'll be back shortly. Bye bye. Well, there you are. That's me and my father and mother. I'm in my new school uniform, which was red, white shirt and a red and white tie. And I remember telling you that before the age of 14 you weren't allowed to wear long trousers, and that's perfectly true. So how I got around my parents to be able to do that, I have really no idea. But they aren't sort of normal trousers. They were part of the sports gear that we had to have, and the long white trousers were the whites that we had to wear when we played cricket. Not that I ever played more than once, because I was useless at ball games or team games for that matter. But oh no, come to think of it, I used to sneak into snooker halls, so that's another story. Anyway, this little innocent looking boy there, you've always got to be aware of the innocent ones, and don't trust them. Anyway, we obviously, it said on the back of a photograph that I was being taken down on holiday to stay with an aunt at a seaside, and well, I didn't like this aunt very much. She was I don't know, what shall I say, above her station, and thought she was very much better than she really was, because she lived in a fairly big house and we lived in a slum. And anyway, I didn't really like her, and I don't know why I was sent there really, because I hadn't got any friends and I'd have much rather been at home, but that's where we were going. And one day while I was staying there, this aunt of mine brought in a friend of hers, huge, great, tall lady, sort of shaped like a milk bottle, really, I thought. And she was wearing gloves, and when they came into the room, my aunt sort of shouted at me, "Stand up, Peter!" And I had to stand up because a lady had entered the room, and we shook hands. Well, we didn't shake hands, we sort of did like a what you would do now, a very sort of gentle high five, I think. I just felt the glove of this hand, and she'd brought me a little present, you see, and it was a rubbishing little cheap thing. It was shaped like a tennis racket with a sort of hole in the middle from which there was a ball bearing, sort of, with only half of its circumference, or half of the ball bearing submerged in this hole. And the trick was that you had to try to pick this thing out. Well, I mean, you could have just turned it upside down and let it fall out, but you were supposed to be able to pick this thing out, or not be able to pick this thing out. Well, by chance, I had been downtown the day before and actually seen these things, and I stood at a stall that was fascinating to me, because this man was selling all sorts of this sort of cheap rubbish, you know, but the fascinating thing was that round his neck he got a boa constrictor, and of course you could touch this, and that was thrilling. So I remember standing outside his stall for quite some time, and well, he showed us how to get the ball out by moistening your fingers and just picking it out, you see. So when this lady gave me this thing, it was very naughty of me, wasn't it? But I'd moistened my fingers, so I just picked it out and hoped that I had scored a point. But wasn't very nice, was it? But there, I told you that you You should never trust the innocent looking ones. Anyway, next time I hope I'll be able to bring you something a bit more exciting with bombs and bullets and finding crashed airplanes and bits of bombs and things like that. So until then, goodbye.